Hey guys, good morning. Yeah, thanks for being here. I want to talk to you today about something that I'm really passionate about because I see the negative effects that it creates in so many people's lives and just over and over. And it's one of my pet peeves, and it's not something that makes me mad, it's something that makes me sad. It's something that makes me want to do something about it. That's why I exist. That's why this company exists. That's why this community exists, for these specific reasons, because I see people struggling unnecessarily. And when you see that, when you see somebody struggling and you know you have solutions, isn't it the natural thing for you to want to go help them, for you to at least to offer to help them? Now, some people don't want help, and that's fine. And some people don't believe that you're the person that can help them, and that's fine. But if you have solutions to other people's problems, you need to try at least to get that information in front of them. And that's one of these things I wanted to talk about today. So this is the week of Thanksgiving, depending on when you're watching this. And so it's going through a lot of people's minds about their health, their wellness, their, getting another year older, that type of thing. And it can be really a stressful time for a lot of people. The suicide rate is the highest ever during the holidays because of a lot of those reasons. And so I want to point out what I see as one of the major problems, but I'm really big on not pointing out problems without having potential solutions. Now, that doesn't mean mine are the only solutions, but I've got some pretty good solutions because I've got a pretty good track record after working with hundreds of people. And so I want to point out to you just some bullet points, if you will. I want to try and point this out in a number of different ways because we all communicate differently. We all hear things differently. And I want this at some point, figuratively, to punch you in the gut, to say, hey, I need to wake up. I need to take action, because I promise you, time speeds it. You don't have as much time between 60 and 70 as you do between 50 and 60. Time speeds up. I know you've all heard that from your parents and older loved ones, but it's absolutely true. And the biggest regret people have on their deathbed is the chances they didn't take. The things they had that they felt they knew they should do. They had this burning in their gut, but they were just too afraid. They didn't want to take that leap. And so hopefully something I say today will help inspire you to at least think about these things in a different way. So the first thing I want to point out is that every decision you make trains your unconscious mind. And I talk a lot about this in my book, but people don't realize that, your conscious mind makes way fewer decisions than your unconscious mind. Your unconscious mind does things like beat your heart and communicate with the muscles to help you breathe so you don't have to think about it. Your conscious mind will make decisions like, hey, what should I cook for breakfast? But those decisions, those thought patterns, are just an infinitesimal amount of what's going on in your unconscious mind. Those things, those automatic programs, if you will, are things that have been programmed usually between 0 to 7 years of age. And what I find coaching people is that they're in their 50s, 60s, 70s, and they don't even know they have these programs that are shooting them in the foot, running unconsciously in their mind. So what happens is when you say, well, I'll start this New Year's resolution, I'll start January 1st, what your brain hears is I don't really want this, because it's like your unconscious mind knows if you don't start now, then it's really not important. Why would you wait? What's so magical about January 1st? And so that's the problem I see with a lot of people. And it's just crazy to me. If you look at the statistics of people that they're going to start doing something differently, some behavior that they don't like, and they start January 1st, there's actually a term for this. It's called Quitter's Day. Usually by it's the second Friday in January is actually called Quitter's Day, because depending on the studies you look at, 80 to 90% of people quit by that Quitter's Day, by that second Friday in January. That's just crazy to me. And that the problem is, the deeper problem is that quitting becomes your identity. Whether you like it or not, whether you ignore it or not, or try to, outrun it or not, that becomes your identity in your unconscious mind. That every year, over and over, you say you're going to do something on January 1, and you never do it. At least you haven't up until this point. And your unconscious mind is like, oh, he's not serious. So what other things do you really want to have happen in your life? But your unconscious mind is like, oh, just, give him a minute and he'll quit, or she'll quit, right? Just give it some time. We know that from their past behavior, right? So again, that's the problem. What would a potential solution to that be? A potential solution is to actually change your identity to say no more. That's not me. That's not who I am. That's not how I conduct myself. I know that's not going to get me the things that I want in life, either material, physical, spiritual. It doesn't matter. It's all connected. If you are that type of person that doesn't do what you said you would do, it just wreaks havoc in every part of your life. I see it all the time, because that identity is literally poison. It will poison everything you do, and you're either reinforcing the fact that you're a winner, or you're reinforcing the fact that you're a waiter, or worse, a quitter. And so the other thing that I think people get so wrong is that you need to realize that even Olympic athletes have coaches, right? And sometimes we think that, well, that's just them. I promise you, every time I hired a coach for anything, whether it's business, personal, whatever it might be, every time I got a 10x return on it, at least, because it literally changes your life. But I want to ask you a question. Do you think elite athletes have coaches because they're elite? Or are they elite because they have coaches? These are the best in the world, the most naturally talented, the most gifted. They put in the most time, and they still see the value in coaches, because they know they can't be elite, they can't be the top, they can't win if they don't have a coach. Yet they're the most gifted, the most talented. Some people would think, well, they don't need a coach because they're so damn good. And I would encourage you to look at that the other way, that the reason they're so good is because they do have a coach. They realize that they don't know it all. And if I've learned anything in my 65 years of living, it's like nobody creates an amazing life, an amazingly successful life, successful family, successful in every way alone. Nobody's ever done that alone. If you read autobiographies of all these people that have done great things in history, none of them have done it alone. None of them. So why do you think you can do it alone? And worse than that, you haven't proven anything in the past, because every year you fail by Quitter's Day. So I just really want you to think about that. The coaches, they bring so many things. They bring accountability, expertise, structure, no guesswork, no excuses, right? They have a plan, they have a system. And that's what we have here. That's what we've developed here. I know it works because it's worked for hundreds of people already. I know the other thing about systems that coaches have is what works for one athlete or one person, or one business, one group, doesn't work for the other person. So a coach has to have systems that are adaptable to the particular situation that person is undergoing. And that's another thing that most people have no idea. It's not a one size fits all. The people that I coach, they're as diverse as you can imagine, come from all kinds of different backgrounds, all kinds of different starting points, all kinds of different goals, yet the system is still the same. And the main thing that reinforces it all is we train our unconscious mind that we are the type of person that does what we said we would do. The other problem I see, and we'll go over the solution, is a lot of people are stuck in pretty good, right? Or pretty comfortable. And I've done lots of talks about this whole comfort crisis that I think is happening not only here in the US, but actually worse in other countries. But a lot of people are kind of 75% good, okay, and they settle for that. And you weren't put here to be 75% or 80% of pretty good. That's not what your creator put you here to do. You have special gifts and talents that you need to refine and go share with the people that need your talents. We all have them. This just happens to be mine. But we all have these special gifts that we were put here to share. And, you know, I have a theory that we have these parts on loan from the universe. We all have these gifts. And if you don't use those parts and you don't take those things and help other people, that those parts get recalled. And I truly believe that's, you know, that's the way the universe works. So why would you settle for pretty good? I don't get that. You don't have to be, you know, the best at everything you do. That's egotistical to think that you need to be that. But you do have gifts, talents, you have people that depend on you, that look up to you, and you do have those things, those talents where you can actually help make a difference in other people's lives. We see all this hatred out there, all this division, if you will, all these problems out there. You have talents, I promise you, innate God-given talents that you could go out and you could help humanity start to become better, start to get along, start to take care of each other, and start to change that whole narrative. But you've got to step up, you got to take action, and I promise you that doesn't happen, you know, on January 1st. It doesn't happen. So I just wrote down a couple of things that I want you to ponder. Why would January 1st be actually the worst time to start? Number one, you're already, if you just say, well, you know, it's the holidays, I got Christmas parties, I got Thanksgiving, of course you got to, you know, eat all these wonderful things. I got a family and they work hard to cook a nice meal and I don't want to insult them. All of those things, whatever. We have ways that we negotiate that here, that we negotiate it elegantly. One of them being it's Thanksgiving Day, not Thanksgiving weekend, or not Thanksgiving month, or not the holidays where it's like, well, we've got Christmas parties and Thanksgiving, then we got Christmas and people are going to be here. You know, of course I can't. Bullshit. That's all bullshit. Those are all things that you're telling yourself in your unconscious mind. So you're already, if you're doing what most people do, right? Only 9% of people, this studies show, 9% of people actually follow through with their New Year's resolution. So there's 91% of you out there that are just going to say, okay, I'll start January 1. Well, if you're doing that, you're already inflamed because of all the junk food. You're probably hungover. You're sore because you're not training. You're not moving. I promise you, you're not sore and so you can't move. The problem is you're sore because you don't move. You need to make sure and get that straight, okay? You're sluggish. Unconsciously, you're already defeated again. I mean, you've already shot yourself in the foot. You've already done all of the things to set yourself up to have the same outcome that you've had up until this point in your life. It's exactly the same pattern. Exactly the same. To interrupt a pattern, you need to do something different. What are you going to do different? So you're literally trying to start off the new year in your weakest state. like say you're inflamed, you're hungover, you're sore, you're out of shape, you're stiff. So all of those things add to the mental drama of trying to get something accomplished as well. So, so what I would recommend, and the reason I'm doing what I'm doing is because I'm going to, I'm going to help you with this. I want you to hit January 1 so far ahead of the pack that nobody else will ever be able to keep up. So far ahead that you won't even look back. If you start now, I promise you, nobody will be able to catch you. And I know, at least in my program for sure, there's a runway necessary. There's some things that you need to learn. There's some tools you need to develop and download, if you will, to make this happen in an efficient manner. So there's a runway that's necessary before you get up to full speed. Why not use all of December to start that runway, to move forward, to start to hit your stride. So by January 1, there's no way anybody can catch you, no way. And with a proven system, with a guaranteed system, you already will have the habits, you'll have the hardest part done because you already started. And so, I just want to finish this with a couple of bullet points, because I want to say something that will make it click to you that you've got to start now with the system and do this differently than you've done the rest of your life, or you're just going to, right? The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expect a different result. So what can we do different? We can start now. That means January 1 is just the point where you accelerate, not the start. I'm telling you that when you have momentum going into January 1, momentum outperforms motivation every day, all day long. And when you start later, as we've talked about, your subconscious mind it knows that you're not serious about it, right? So starting now will build that identity I was talking about, because here's the way it needs to flow. You start with habits. When you continually do those habits over time, that leads to discipline. When you have the habits and the discipline, you start to see the outcome or the change in outcome for you, and that's what creates the motivation. We tend to think we don't have discipline, we don't have motivation, but we have all those things, but it has to start with habits. So you have to have a coach point out to you, these are the habits, these are the behaviors that you need to have that will move the needle, and everything starts to change. And so what I'm proposing and what I'm doing as our company, as the Gene Tough company, is I feel so strongly about this. I want you to start now, the beginning December. If you want to start after Thanksgiving, again, that can be an issue. You need to start now. You need to make a decision now. What's the difference between people that succeed and people that don't? They make decisions now. They gather the information they need and they make the decision, they pull the trigger and they move forward. And they realize that they never fail. They either succeed or they learn, okay? You need to keep that straight. So what I'm offering to do is to give you a free month of coaching. In other words, let's take all of December and use that as our runway to start to develop these habits. And my coaching program is 6 months long. I'm going to give you 7 months of coaching for the price of 6 months. We'll hit the ground running. We'll develop these habits in the quote unquote worst time of the year to be doing that, and show you how to negotiate. Because if I can show you how to negotiate the holidays, right, Thanksgiving and Christmas and all of the Christmas party and all that kind of stuff, if we can perform in an excellent way through the holidays, the rest is a piece of cake. And that's why I'm so passionate about this. If you start January 1, it's going to end the same way. So I will, if you reach out, say now, I'm ready now, reach out to me. We'll jump on a call, a free call, and we'll have a conversation about what this looks like. but I want to offer you a free month of training. Who does that? Do you think any trainers at the local gym are going to offer you a free month of training? Do you think any trainers at a local gym are going to guarantee results? Ever? Have you ever heard of any coach, especially in the health and wellness space, that guarantees results? They're so sure that if you do what they ask you to do, they're so sure that the system will work for you and literally change your life, not just be in better shape, not just look better at the beach, not lose the beer belly, not just have more energy, but literally change every facet of your life. Guaranteed. So I don't know what else to tell you, folks. If you won't pull the trigger, make the decision to jump on a free call to explore the possibility of changing your life within the next 7 months, because you get a month free, guaranteed, or your money back. When you really look at that, if you aren't willing to do that, what that tells me is you aren't willing to bet on yourself. And that's a really sad place. Like I talked about right at the beginning today, that's a sad place to be, is when you don't even have enough belief in yourself to take that leap and do something that's guaranteed to change your life. And so I hope something I said makes sense, trips that trigger. Join our community. They're the most amazing people. They've been there, they've done that. They want you to succeed. It's not just about me. In fact, it's very little about me. It's about the community we built here, the team I built to help me with all of this. They're the most amazing humans. They care about your success probably more than anybody, more than somebody in your family, which is really hard to believe, but that's what we do here. So reach out, send me a comment, say now, and we'll schedule a free half-an-hour call to see where you're at, to see what your goals are, and we'll move on from there. So I appreciate you listening today. Take care, and we'll hopefully talk to you on the phone soon.